Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 13 of the Grid Slot Gavra Racing podcast. Now, I did say 2 weeks ago we were going to get an episode out to you this week, but we made a mistake. The prelim races, there were two of them, not one. That's on us. So we've waited till now, but either way, we still have all of the data that we could possibly want to bring you predictions and our own opinions on what's going to happen in the upcoming season on F1. Nevertheless, though, you are joined by 2008 and myself.
Me, Tiger Assassin.
And me, X-Nanogy.
And for once, they're all on time. So let's dive straight into what happened in Gavra Racing this week. And for the first time in about 4 weeks, something did actually happen this time. So, we're going to start things off with the Academy, which at time of recording will start later on today. We couldn't find an entire driver list. I think there's a couple of confusing things there with the prelim races still going on for some of the Academy guys. But that's going to be kicking off later today. 20 drivers, obviously no teams from the Academy, they're all just driving for themselves. And we'll see where the next big talent in F1 side of Gavra Racing is. Anyway, we're going to move on to places where we do know the driver lineup. We're going to start with the Freshman League. So, time for all three of us to start giving our top 10 and the reason probably for each one. I hope both of them have actually done that. So moving on to the predictions part, I'm going to hand over to Tiger first. He wants to take us through his. So this is for the Freshman League.
I will, yes. And also, I just want to point out that no one needs to sort of, feel demeaned or anything by any of the predictions that we give. We've given these predictions off of, seeing performances, seeing how the drivers have, driven in the past. But in reality, what it really should do is it should really, sort of promote the drivers and encourage the drivers to even beat our predictions and prove us wrong. But I'm going to start off with my top 10. So I'll start from 10th. I'll work my way up. So 10th, I put RCA. And RCA, I saw quite a lot in the Academy from last season. He actually won a race in the Golden Crown series. So he had some decent pace, and I've put him in 10th place. Put 9th for Bruzy, and Bruzy's similar. I've seen him in the Academy as well. Quite a lot of these drivers were Academy drivers. Once again, he's got a decent pace. He was sort of near towards the top of the sort of the top 10 there. It was he was a good driver as well. With the 90 as well. He also won a race in the Academy early on, and towards the start of the Academy. So put him in there. Hampton, another one as well. These drivers were quite similar on pace. They had good battles last season. Bates, I believe, was already in the freshman. I don't think Bates has actually moved out the freshman. So he's actually drove in the McLaren. He was showing some good pace. He had some really good moments in the freshman, put up some good battles. He was towards the top of there, so I put him a little bit higher up. Ace de Sabo, and I believe he was in the Premier, and he's now in the Super. So, Ace de Sabo, he had some decent pace as well in the Premier Series, and same for Sabo and Alex Gunnar-Mack. Put Sabo in 4th, Alex Gunnar-Mack in 3rd. But all coming from the Premier Series, had some decent pace, and I'm sure they'll fly in the Freshman League. 2nd place, I put the man who is also in the Weekend League race. If you saw the Weekend League race yesterday, it was a little pre-season race. I put Absolute 11 in 2nd. So he actually won some races in the Weekend League last season. Had some really good pace as well, putting some good performances, and I put the man who beat the previous Weekend League champion yesterday. He was showing some really good pace, brought a battle to him last season. I put Jutsikev to win the championship.
Yes, I think thanks, Tiger. I think the thing is that he has gone for a slightly different set of people. And the good thing here is that we've all gone for 3 different top 10s, so that should really spice things up. We're not doing a sort of predictions battle thing with this as we are with the real world stuff, but I'm going to hand over to Natty.
So my top 10, I'm going to do the same thing as Tiger, and as he said, don't take this in a bad way. If your name's not in the top 10, but you can use it as a way to motivate yourself to try and go even quicker. But for my top 10, starting from 10th, I'm going to put Vincher. in 10th place. He showed some good pace in the weekend league, and I think he'll do well down in the freshman. Sorry. I put Tonios in 9th. I saw him in a few races in the academy. I think he'll do well. I think he needs to find maybe a little bit of consistency, but I reckon he'll do pretty decently. Victor in 8th. Brucey in 7th. Ace de Sabo in 6th. Ace de Sabo, one of the weekend league drivers, someone who got showing some decent pace in the weekend league. In my driver in 5th place, I've put Alex Gunner Mack, previously driving in the Premier Series last season. He had some good pace around Brazil, especially. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can continue that pace throughout an entire calendar. But Alexander Mack in 5th. I'm going to put RC8 in 4th. He had some good pace in both the prelim races and his previous season in Gav. My top 3. I've put Absolute 11 in 3rd. I think he finished 4th or 3rd or 4th in the weekend league. So he showed some great pace in the Austrian event back in June, sometime in June or July, I think. We've got Saba the Mister. I put in 2nd. He is a really quick driver from the Premier Series. Finished 3rd in the Premier Series, actually. And, I know from my own experiences of racing him, he's a really quick driver in the wet, especially. So it's going to be interesting to see what he can do in the freshman. And then, similar to Tiger, I put Jutsu Kev as my champion of the freshman league. He's had some really good pace once again from the weekend league, and it's going to be good to see what he can do in the freshman. But that is my top 10 for the freshman league.
And for once, I actually did something I asked him to do on time. So, all right. But anyway, moving into my predictions for the freshman league, I've put the man, the myth, the legend, Willie Sanker in 10th. Finished, I think, bottom of the Premier Series standings last season. Didn't actually get a whole season in, and he did about 6 or 7 races. So I think that it could potentially be a more threatening prospect for points this season in the league below where he was last season. I put RC8 in 9th, seemingly for the same reason that the other two have mentioned. Obviously, did take that win in Brazil for the Golden Crown Series, the Academy team. Daza, I've put in 8th, spent the last 2 or 3 seasons in the Super League. Moving down now into the freshman, so I think that it could be expected for him to be potentially higher up among this field. I put Hampton in 7th, who I believe was in the academy last season as well, moving up to the freshman. I think impressed a little bit. Quite a consistent drive there. Alex Gunner Mack, very quick around Brazil and Germany. Obviously, the latter of which isn't on the calendar anymore, unfortunately. Tolstoy's doing a sad face right now. But yeah, Alex Gunner Mack, a very quick driver on his day. So I think that he will be able to fight himself up into 6th place. I think it's just about, as he said himself, finding that pace consistently. Then he could even be higher up on my list. I put Brozzi in 5th. I was relatively impressed with him in the Academy League as well. I think he was in last season. He might have done a couple races in the freshman. Ace de Sabo, another one from the Weekend League, I believe. So Natty has raced against him and somehow managed to win. Yeah, he paid Gavra. No, that was a joke. Do not take that seriously. All right, Ace de Sabo I put in 4th. But Sabo, the other Sabo the Mister, I think like Tiger as well, I put in 3rd, just for a little bit of alliteration. So Sabo finished 3rd in the Premier Series as well, the closest runner-up to Shankster and myself. Jutsi Kev, I've actually put in 2nd place. I'm going to get to my first place in a second because I actually have some data that backs up my prediction, okay? And I will put money on this. I think I'm not going to say just yet. But I put Jutsi Kev in 2nd, unlike the other two, and I put Absolute 11 in 1st. Now, this is where my data-driven hypothesis, fancy words,
Here we go.
comes into play here. So, from the points handed out by Kraser for each race of the freedom races, did a great job with that. That was actually very useful for me to do this. I have created a ranking system. I was only able to do the Super League and part of the Premier Series before I think lineups got changed and such, and I haven't redone it because I'm lazy. No, but Absolute 11 did actually rank fastest in the Austria prelim race with a score of 1,218 and 22 points, and scored the third fastest USA wet time of anyone in class in the Super League class. But I think running with assists or no assists, that's still a very quick time. Put him third overall as well in terms of the total ranking. So I think that being third based purely on data alone in the Super League, he should have a pretty good chance of getting the freshman title. Moving on, then we're going a series up. The series I was in last year, series I won last year, and Natty was in last year, and finished fourth. Had a friendly bet with Dutch that he'd score over 100 points. And how many did you score, Nat?
99.
He got 99.
That's great. That's actually great.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
But yeah, so for this, Natty won't be giving a top 10 because he put himself first. And it's the same reason why I am not giving a top 10 for the Super League as well, just to avoid any potential bias, although I don't know how biased Tiger and Natty are going to be. So.
Hang on a minute.
All right, well, I'm going to hand over to Tiger now for his Premier Series top 3. 10, not 3.
Okay, so Premier Series. 10th place. I put the main man himself, Mr. Gavra is in 10th place. He finished, mid-table in the Super League. I think it was the last season he was in. So potentially moving down the league, he might be able to, push his way back up a little bit more, get into the top 10. 9th, I put Black Country Mush. I know Black Country really well. I know he's quite a quick driver. He did really well in the Premier last season, so we can see him getting into the top 10. 8th, put the main man, Met Boy. Met Boy was been seeing some of his sort of pre-season work that he's been doing, and he actually owns his own league. But anyway, he's been doing some quite quick times anyway around at certain tracks. So I put Met Boy in 8th. I put Car H in 7th. Now, I've only seen a little bit from Car H, so I couldn't really give too much information on him. From what I've seen, he's been really decent. So I put him in 7th. I put Pope in 6th after him and Mares had a big battle in the academy, and we know how quick Pope can be. So he managed to get himself into the Premier Series. I put him in 6th. I put SFA in 5th. He's been very, very quick as well. SF has, and so I put him in 5th. I put Cryptech in 4th place. Cryptech he was in the freshman last season, and he was quite quick. He was teammates with the freshman champion Holland. He managed to win the constructors with Holland, so pulling in some big points for the team. In 3rd, I put One Shot Two Down, who I believe was originally already in the Premier Series. Is that right, guys?
He was in the Super League, then he replaced someone in Austria in a Haas, and then stayed in Renault for the rest of the season, I think. Yeah, he was in both. I think Gavra is also in both.
Yeah, but I've seen some good pace from One Shot. He was very good in both leagues. So I put him in 3rd. 2nd place, I put the man who was battling with Natty in the Drivers' Championship at one point in the weekend league. I put Jetsy, who he actually won one of the races. I think he won one of the races in Australia. I think it was the first one. Possibly it was either the first or the second one. And of course, not of course, but I put Natty first. That's all I'm going to say. Put Natty first.
I hate that you said of course there.
I know, I really shouldn't have said that, should I? No, but I put Natty in first. Won the weekend league, and pulled some big points in the freshman. Managed to win a race in the freshman around Austria. Never stops talking about that one. So.
Oh yeah, and he's going to probably remind us of it now, isn't he?
But no, that's my top 10 for the Premier anyway.
To give some credit to Natty, he was the fastest driver in his group from the relay races. So yeah, he was. So I think putting him first for the Premier Series title is not completely out of the question. However, I have not put him first because I am unbiased. No, I'm joking. But to run through my top 10, Black Country Mush put in 10th, did manage to bag a. Oh, he's left the call now. Did manage to bag a podium in the final race of the season there in Abu Dhabi. I have put Guillotine in 9th position. Oh, what was that? Sorry, as my house disintegrates around me. In 9th position, I have put Guillotine, the Irishman from the Superleague, even last season. Didn't manage to score any points, but came very close to points scoring position on a number of occasions. Unfortunately, a couple of mistakes cost him, but seemingly this season has improved tenfold. I've put Oriole into 8th place even, a very prominent front runner in the freshman league. It's a shame there's a couple of bad luck spells for him there that meant he didn't finish higher up in that particular league. It's Julio in 7th. I think a driver who is very, very quick, but maybe a little bit prone to the odd mistake. But hopefully he can prove me wrong. I'm going to finish higher up in my ranking. I put the main man, the main boy, the Met boy in 6th position. Again,
man.
Again, a Super League driver who has dropped down to the Premier now, so should, in theory, be higher up in those rankings than you would expect. I've put One Shoot Two Down into 5th position, mainly for the same reasons as Tiger just mentioned. I've put Jexy, who was Natty's title rival from the Weekend League, into 4th position. Pope Taves, I've put a little bit higher up than Tiger. I feel like that's fair. I've put him up in 3rd. Did have a very good race in the Austria event, the one-off event. I think that's probably indicative of his overall pace. I put ex Natty G into 2nd position because he's bad. We do too much Natty bashing on this show. I'm sorry, Natty. This is a bit uncool.
I know we do. Really sorry.
We need to get a helpline.
And then I've put SFAS17, which he's made a name that makes him sound like a photocopier, but I've put him in 1st position. Reason being, in the Austria prelim, he was extremely fast. Like, very, very quick. I think he posted the fastest lap time overall of anyone across all 3 leagues in that race. So that's why I put him in 1st for the Premier Series. But anyway, I'm going to shut up now because it's going to be Tiger and Natty giving you their Super League lineups, predictions, and reasoning why. It's like a PE paragraph from English GCSE. So going to hand over to Nat.
Okay, so the Super League, obviously the top league in Gavra for the F1 side of things, and going to start with my 10th place, 10th to 1st, sorry, and in 10th I put Don Rajib in the Super League last season. Scored some good points, consistently fighting in the top half, the top 5 drivers on the grid. I put him in 10th place only for the reason that I think the Super League is going to be a lot closer between everyone this season. So I've put him in 10th. In 9th, I've put the Freshman League champion, Holland Campion. I think, well, obviously going from the freshmen to the supers, quite a big step up, and I think he'll do well. But I put him down in 9th place for now. But you never know, he might move further up the grid. In 8th, I've put Jojo Power. Jojo obviously being in the Super League last season as well. We drove the Alfa Romeo. Another really quick driver, but like I said, with Don Rajib, it's going to be, I think, a lot closer this season than last season. So, especially in that midfield, it's going to be really close. So I put Jojo down in 8th. I put Joe XX in 7th. Obviously, he was in the freshman league as well last year, but he had some really good pace in the prelim races. So I put him up into 7th on my predictions. In 6th, I've put Jax for 6th place. I think he's another one from the Super League last season. I think he'll do well again, but just like the other guys, it's going to be really close in that midfield. I believe some of their prelim times are only a few seconds off one another. So yeah, the battles are, that is going to be countless. In the Super League, in fifth, I've put Shankster, obviously runner-up in the Premier Series to Toussaint last season. I've put him in fifth place. I think he's another driver who's going to do really well. Piero, I've put in fourth place. I believe he came second in the Super League last year. I've put him in fourth place this year. I've not seen too much of his pace on this year's game, but I'm sure he'll be just as quick as last year's game. So yeah, in third place, I've got Toussaint, obviously your Premier Series champion. I put him up into third place. I think the top three. I think the top three this season are just going to be battling every race. So I've decided to put Toussaint in third. Now the top two, I've put your last Super League champion, Play Dutchy, a two-time Super League champion, I believe. I think he won it in season 2 as well. Put him in.
Dutchy is a one-time championship.
Oh, one time. I do
Yeah,
apologise.
I think it was Goagola, Atim, and Napula who won season 2, and then season 1 was Red 15 GRT. He was the first champion. So yeah. So Dutchy's actually well, if Dutchy or Atim won this season, it'd be the first ever double world champion, which is something. So yeah, sorry, Natty, sorry.
Yeah, I've put Dutchy in second place. Obviously, like I just said, he won the Super League last season. Another a really quick driver. But the driver I think will win the Super League this year is Atom Grin. Obviously, I've seen his time trial times. I've seen him last season. He is really quick, especially in one lap pace. I think if he gets consistency, then I think he'll win the Super League.
So in 10th place, I put the Academy League champion, and that is Mares. Showed some brilliant pace. Obviously, won that championship. But I put him down in 10th because he's come up to the Super League, and I think he's changed a few of his assists, and he's turned off a few of his assists. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult for him, and he'll be put up against the big boys. So have to find out and see how Mares does. In 9th,
don't do it.
It's Jax.
Oh, thank God.
I didn't do it this time, but I put It's Jax in 9th. Obviously, he was showing some good pace. He had some really good pace in the Golden Crown, actually, as well. So It's Jax in 9th. I had another person who was trying to compete with the Weekend League Championship against Natty was Dan Schneider, who I've put in 8th. He's shown some really good times in the prelim races from what I've seen. So I put him in 8th place. I put the Freshman League champion, Holland Campion. Put him up in 7th. Obviously won the freshman. Won quite a few races there. Had a good battle with Lord Jedi, actually, for the championship in that freshman last season. In 6th, I put Piero. Piero, once again, another really fast driver. All these drivers, I'm going to say, are really fast because they are all really, really quick drivers. Piero had some really good performances last season. 5th place, I put the man who tried to challenge Toussaint for the Premier Series Championship, and that is Shankster. He was showing some really good times in the prelim races as well, and obviously brought a really good battle to Toussaint. Won races in the Super League last season. In 4th, I did put Toussaint 0208 in 4th place. Sorry, Toussaint, but so sadly I couldn't find
If you would like a place on the podcast, I think Tiger's position just became available.
Well, it might be disappearing now because in 3rd place I put Joe XX1188.
No bias there, then.
No, but on a serious note, I would say Joe's my mate and everything, but he's improved a hell of a lot since freshman. Obviously, he came on. We were talking about him spinning out constantly in the freshman, but but he's made a huge improvement. He did some really, really good times in the prelim races, and he's been showing some good times in time trial as well. So put Joe in 3rd. got to say though, it was really difficult to pick all of these lists. I mean, the Super League especially, there's so many just quick drivers in here. It's going to be so many good battles. But in second place, I put Play Dutchy, the same as what Natty did. Obviously, Dutchy, really quick driver, won the Super League last season. I won loads of races in the GT Sport League, even though we're not in GT Sport, but he just shows how quick he can be in all types of games, all types of cars. So won loads of races in there. Couldn't beat Two Saint though in that, but he managed to. He was very, very quick in both leagues, and the man I've put on top, who is just from what I've seen, has just been impeccable, Atom Grin, and he's just been too fast. He's been very quick, so I've put Atom Grin to win the Super League. But as I said, it's all very close, and I can imagine it's all gonna change up, and especially with with incidents happening and whatnot, it's gonna be very, very good. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am very much looking forward to racing in it as well. I think that obviously these are just our predictions, guys. Do not take anything to heart. These do not reflect the opinions of anyone else apart from us three. But yeah, if you would like a full version of the data I did for the Super League top 19 or 20 drivers that I have data for, you can just PM me if you want to have that. I think Natty and Tiger have it as well in the chat. So yeah, if you want to, the details will be down below if you want that, or if you want a full list of our predictions, they will also be there as well. We'll send those over to you if you would like to have a look at them and print them off and stick them on your wall for motivation or anything. That's going to be the next line of Gavra Racing merch. Yeah, so if you weren't featured on the top 10, don't take anything to heart, guys. It's literally just our opinion. Does not matter at all.
Just prove us wrong. Your challenge is to prove us wrong, and then we'll look stupid and you'll look amazing because you've proved us wrong and you've managed to, completely pull off a really, really good performance. So.
To be honest, we get 90% of the stuff on this podcast
wrong.
Right, well, either way, it's not just F1 that we have here in Gavra Racing. We also have Project Cars 2 and GT Sport. I'm going to let Natty, who are we allowed to call you the championship admin now?
Well, I mean, you've said it here and now.
Okay. I think I just got scapegoated. All right. Well, anyway, your new GTS admin, X Natty G, is going to take you through, I think, the rules and how you can sign up for the GT Sport Championship, which I believe starts in October.
Yes. So the new GT Sport season 2 is starting again soon. I believe the first race is on the 2nd of October. Registrations close on the 30th of September. So head over to the Gavra Racing website. Go to Championships, GT Sport, and all the information will be on there. That is where you can register. In terms of the new rules and regulations from last season, obviously we've changed a few bits to try and make things more interesting and more fun for the viewers. I'll start by talking about the tyre and fuel consumption. So this season we've got ×5 tyre wear and ×3 fuel consumption, meaning that drivers are going to have to pay more attention to their strategy, their fuel consumption, or what tyres they're going to pit for. Obviously, last season we just saw them come in for a set of super softs, a little bit more fuel potentially, and then back out. But this season we're going to see maybe more of the softs or the mediums, potentially even the hards. But we'll just have to wait and see what the drivers try and do, whether they go long or go short, or sort of long on a set of hards, or go quick and short with more pit stops on mediums or softs. But we'll just have to wait and see. So that's the first major regulation change to this season. We've got the new introduction to teams. So we're going to have constructors, and there was a little bit of confusion. I've had a few people message me about the how the teams are going to be working. But drivers, unlike F1, drivers don't have to run the same car. So you can be in a Mercedes and an Aston, or a Ferrari and a BMW. It doesn't matter what what manufacturer you and your teammate run, as long as you have the same primary color on your car, similar, or even the same liveries, just the same color. As long as we can clearly see that you two are both teammates by your livery or color, then that is perfectly fine. So that's how the teams are going to be worked. If you have a teammate, let's say you know a friend who wants to join, or you feel free to message someone if you want to be their teammate. If you're coming into the GT Sport Championship solo, then I believe it's either myself or Gavra who will select you a teammate once all the registrations are in. But that's kind of a quick summary of the GT Sport. Obviously, I mentioned the registrations and when the calendar starts, 2nd of October. Brands Hatch is the first race. We've got 12 hopefully amazing tracks lined up ahead of us. And if it's anything like last season, hopefully it will be a good season. And that's all for now.
All right, there you go. So if you are interested in signing up for that GT Sport thing, as Natty just said, head over to the website. It's literally one of the first things on there if you'd like to sign up. But I'm going to talk about Project Cars 2 and what we have going on this season. So for this season, we are shortening it down to just 2 Project Cars leagues. Makes it a bit easier for me to keep a track of on here as well on the podcast. But anyway, we have the Ford Escort RS 1600 Vintage Cup. Thank you, Sig, for the very short.
Another tongue twister.
the short title of these leagues. All right, yeah, never mind. Sig, you do a great job, mate. But we have 12 rounds for that, starting at Willow Springs International, which is going to be a pre-season race, and ending at the Nürburgring Sprint short track. About half an hour, 40-minute races, all in that Ford Escort. I think my family used to own a Ford Escort at some point. Not a racing one, but I think we had one. Anyway, we also have the All Around the Globe Master Series, which is a lot easier to pronounce. But that's going to be comprised a bit like how the Genetic Evolution was last season, with 4 different legs, each one with a different car. So it starts with the Audi 90 GTO, the 1990 Audi GTO, which I believe was that a Le Mans prototype? Possibly. I'm not too sure. But the McLaren F1 GT1, which I believe won Le Mans, that will be even the next leg. So the next 3 races after that, rounds 4, 5, and 6. The Nissan GTR GT3 car will be used for the 3rd leg. And then in the 4th and final leg, the Mustang RTR GT4 car will be used for those last 3 seasons. So if that's something that you think you might be interested in, they are all on the Discord server with sign-ups and such. The first round for the Ford Escort Championship starts off in Willow Springs on the 1st of September, which is already gone. And then the other one is on the 3rd of September at Imola, which we also look forward to watching. I believe everything this season is going to be broadcasted on Twitch and then uploaded to YouTube, but we also have to wait and see how that works out for Project Cars 2. But that's going to bring to an end what happened in Gavra Racing this week, and we're going to go straight into real world racing, namely the Belgian and Italian Grand Prix. And he said Spanish then, but yeah, we're gonna hop straight over to that. So, Belgian Grand Prix. We're gonna fly through this one quite quickly because I would very much like to get on to the Italian Grand Prix, which happened literally yesterday at time of recording. But anyway, Hamilton with another win in the Ardennes Forest. Bottas in 2nd. I don't know what more to say about Bottas. He really, really frustrated me in that race. I think coming out of La Source on lap 1, got too close to Hamilton, had to back off going through Eau Rouge and Radion, and then was so far behind that he was getting challenged by Verstappen.
Can I just say what's happened to his starts lately?
I have jumped start in Hungary, got swallowed up in Spain.
Yeah,
Belgium nearly got overtaken by Verstappen, and then we'll talk about Monza in a bit, but that was
recently though, like he used to be like the one that used to be off the line quickly. Like if you remember Austria, the last season I think it was, where he was like 2017 was it, where he got like it was like 0 point something seconds. He got like literally just after the green light.
Yeah.
And then like that used to be and then something lately it's just happened and his starts have just really dropped off. Whether it's been the initial start off of the line or whether it's been, going, as he said, with that what happened with Hamilton and just dropping back after a few corners, I don't know what's happened to him, but something's gone on because his starts have really dropped off lately.
And I think it's slightly annoying, even as I am a Hamilton fan, not a fanboy or anything like that. I'm not that stupid, but I think that I want to see Hamilton challenged for the title, like not just like an easy run. And I feel like Bottas every season comes out saying, "Yeah, it's 3.0. I've got my porridge. I've got my new longer beard," and then he just refuses to overtake Lewis at every single possible moment where he could win the challenge.
I think everyone wants to see that.
Well,
I
yeah,
think everyone
exactly.
wants to see a battle for first place. Whether it's even with the Mercedes storming ahead, I still think people want to see a battle. Whether it doesn't matter what car it is, as long as there's a battle happening, either for first or wherever, they want to see a battle. So.
Yeah, the Belgian Grand Prix made me really, really realize how much I miss Nico Rosberg. Because at least Rosberg would like send it on Hamilton and prove that I'm not just gonna like sit here and take this. I'm gonna try and go for the championship if I can. But it feels like Bottas just refuses to overtake him at every single point. I don't even think that Hamilton regards him as a challenger anymore. Like he's more looking into the Red Bull garage at Verstappen than he is over his shoulder at his teammate, which in that Mercedes, Hamilton should be looking at his teammate who's to be challenging him for the title. But I digress. We'll hand over to Natty now.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, I mean, well, that's happened. Oh no, it happened in Belgium. But Monza. Well, very, very interesting indeed.
For a Ferrari fan. You kept that
Well.
secret for a while, Nat, and now we know why.
So yeah, Monza. Well, I mean, Ferrari obviously, lack of straight line speed. Monza being known as the temple of speed didn't help. Obviously, it was the Ferrari double retirement. Vettel had a brake failure, and then Leclerc had a quite a hefty impact after losing the rear through Parabolica. Obviously, just before that, Leclerc's crash, Magnussen. What did he do? He retired with an engine issue. Sorry, I forgot. I can
Magnussen was the
remember.
driver of the day, mate.
I remember what I remember him pulling over, and then engine. So Magnussen had an engine failure, brought out the safety car, and then quite a big turning point in the race when Hamilton and Giovinazzi pits when the pit lane was closed, giving them both a 10-second stop-go penalty. But then that happened. Leclerc crashed, brought out the red flag, and then we had the restart, which is when Hamilton and Giovinazzi were able to serve their penalties. But another driver who benefited out of the red flag, Stroll, who didn't pit on his mediums or hards, I think it was the mediums, he was able to get a free set under the red flags, which is actually, I heard a bit of controversy out of this, whether drivers should be able to change tyres under red flag conditions. But
there's a little discussion about this. I feel like they shouldn't be able to. I mean, because it's like I understand that everyone can choose that if they want, but it kind of just go because I mean, AlphaTauri had played like an absolute blinder by pitting Gasly before the safety car and getting him up into that position, but then everyone was just on the same tyres at the end anyway. I mean, yes, it did mean that we got more or less a sprint to the end of everyone on the same compound of tyre. But I feel like it also kind of robbed us maybe of some overtaking in the midfield with those different tyre strategies and seeing how they played out. I think that the red flag shouldn't be a reset button. It's meant to be a pause. But yeah.
Yeah, so we had the restart. Hamilton dropped about 23 seconds or something behind the driver in last and was able to get himself back up into seventh with only a few laps and about 20 laps to go. As Bottas, though, really struggling with overheating his car, he wasn't able to overtake anyone in the midfield. But a really dramatic end to the race with Carlos Sainz chasing down Gasly to the end, but Gasly just managed to get his maiden victory by only just 4/10, similar to how Sebastian Vettel done it in the Toro Rosso all those years ago. But Vettel's was more of a relaxed win, you could say, if Sainz wasn't 4/10 behind. But an incredible win for Gasly. Obviously, we saw how much it meant to him. What he's been through in the last 18 months, obviously being dropped by Red Bull, losing his friend Antoine Hubert, and now he's a race winner in Formula One. But what does this mean for the other Red Bull seats? Alex Albon kind of needs to up his game if he's to stay at that Red Bull seat. Obviously, if Pierre Gasly's winning in the sister car of AlphaTauri, then it's not looking good for him.
Yeah, I think this is a big missed opportunity for Albon because I think his car was damaged and he was, struggling to get behind the wheels. It was a very Gasly-esque performance of last year in a way from Albon, like just getting stuck behind backmarker cars. How much the floor damage done to his car to do that, we obviously don't know. I mean, Verstappen also retired, but he wasn't exactly setting the world on fire when he came into the pits to retire. But yeah, I think this means Red Bull will be having a discussion certainly about that second driver's seat. Obviously, nothing's been confirmed yet, but what would you do, guys? I'm going to go to Tiger first.
Man, it's so difficult. Like, it's really difficult to see because if you look at it really, like you could turn around and say, well, Gasly had his chance, but then in some cases you could say, well, Gasly had his chance, but maybe he was not ready to have his chance. Maybe now that he's had the experience of being in F1 like for a few years now, and he's got the race win under his belt. He's got podiums. Obviously, he got that podium out in Brazil, and then he's got the win here. So you could argue that now would have been a better time for him to go into that Red Bull than what it would have been maybe last year. But definitely Albon needs to up his game, otherwise it's not looking great for him at all, especially with the fact that he is so far back off of he's getting stuck behind back markers, as he's saying. He is quite far back off of Verstappen as well. And even if Verstappen's a brilliant driver, he should not be as far back as he is really. So we'll have to wait and see. But
I feel like Albon just needs a weekend where everything just goes like normally. Like there's no crash at turn one. There's no strategy working against him. There's no, being used as a test dummy for Verstappen's strategy, like we saw in Spain and in Belgium. I don't know why they put him on the medium tires. That was an idiotic idea, really. But we've seen Red Bull play absolute blinders in the strategy, but not on Albon's car. But I mean, not saying he's not been given a fair opportunity because, in all fairness, he has. And in Monza, he was, I think, 2 or 3 tenths off Verstappen, which is probably one of the smaller gaps that there has been between the two teammates over their tenure at Red Bull. Obviously, last year in Suzuka, he absolutely matched Verstappen's time to the 1,000th. But yeah, Albon, if you change a couple of things about Albon's season, we're not having this conversation right now because he's on the podium and possibly even with a race win in Austria. So, that's the thing. But yeah, he's not falling to pieces as much as Gasly did in that second Red Bull seat. But I think with Gasly winning this race, whether you think it was, lucky, unlucky, whatever, the fact is that he's won a race and had a podium, and Albon hasn't in what is meant to be a superior car. And that means for me that Red Bull need to have a conversation about that second driver's seat. Not necessarily replacing Albon mid-season, then that would be a bit harsh. But I think for the end of the season, if it doesn't turn around for Albon, they might have to put Gasly back in that car and give him a second chance.
I mean, yeah, when Gasly obviously joined Red Bull, personally, I don't think Gasly was ready for the Red Bull at the time he's joined, and I think that's what Albon's going through now. Obviously, Albon's only been in the sport for a year and a bit now, and he's already in that Red Bull seat. So, I think if you give Gasly's more experience than Albon, I think if they were to swap him around, Gasly would probably be more familiar with the Red Bull now. Alex Albon, don't know where he would go, possibly even just to switch back down to AlphaTauri. But yeah, so it's over the last few years, it's been a bit complicated with the Red Bull, Toro Rosso / AlphaTauri teams. Obviously, when Daniel Kvyat got dropped after the Russian Grand Prix in 2016, and then Max replaced him, and then Gasly got dropped, and now we might see another second driver at Red Bull. getting replaced.
I'll tell you what, though, Verstappen really does chew through his teammates, doesn't he? Jesus Christ! It just goes to show how much of once in a generation talent that Verstappen is. He's just absolutely incredible driver. But yeah, unfortunately, it just didn't come together for him this weekend, and he was fuming after that race as well. But yeah, very happy for Gasly. He absolutely deserves that win. I don't think anyone can take that away from him. Absolutely deserves that race win. Carlos Sainz pushed him hard till the end. I think he was on the race just like one more lap, and he would have had him. Yeah, we all know that feeling where you're chasing someone down and you're like, one more lap, and I would have had him.
Yeah.
But
Can I just say actually that it was an overall really good performance from both McLaren drivers. McLaren had an absolutely cracking weekend.
Definitely.
Like second and fourth. Like it was a really, really good weekend for McLaren. I actually really can't wait for McLaren Mercedes and for Daniel and Norris. I think it's going to be a great lineup and a great team. But no, it was a brilliant performance from both those drivers as well and the team.
Make McLaren great again. No, but in the meantime, away from the races, other big news: Renault are changing their name for 2021. They will be known as Alpine Formula One Team. For those of you who don't know, Alpine is Renault's sports car brand. I think something like that. They have made the Alpine A110, which is a new kind of sports car thingy. But I think they used to make sports cars as well back in the 60s and 70s, I want to say. And yeah, they released a new version of the A110 recently. But the CEO of whichever company it is that owns Renault now has said that, the point of this rebrand is to increase, I guess the namesake of Alpine, and F1 is probably a good way to do that. I don't see how it could damage them. But new beginnings. I've got Fernando Alonso coming in for next season alongside Esteban Ocon, which Natty did predict a few weeks ago, like fourth or fifth episode of the podcast. So if you want to go and watch Natty being incredible at something, go and watch that. But yeah, he also thinks that Vettel's going to Racing Point, and I'm not too sure about that one.
No, I don't think he will.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be Stroll and Perez.
Yeah, same. Although we'll talk about that at a later date, probably after something gets confirmed. But anyway, it's predictions battle time. Yeah, we got none of these correct. Everyone's gonna get 0 points from this one, I'm pretty sure. So we weren't able to do a episode obviously last week. So I'll take you through our predictions then. So I said that in qualifying it would be Hamilton, Bottas, Ricciardo. My thesis there being, I guess, that the Renault did seem to have a very good low downforce package at Spa. I thought I would carry them through to Monza. But in the race, it would be Hamilton, Verstappen, Ricciardo. With Bottas, I would expect him getting a bad start. Which, to be fair, Bottas did get a bad start. But my surprise is that both Ferraris would be out in Q1. And I'm demanding half a point here because Vettel did go out in Q1.
Yes, okay.
Next
yes! I'm going to win on half points.
I'm going to win on no points.
All right, so Natty, on the other hand, predicted a Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen top 3 in qualifying, which is also incorrect because Sainz started third, I think. And then in the race, went for Hamilton, Bottas, Ricciardo. Is that the same reasoning as me then, Nat? You thought?
Yeah, I thought the Renault engine would have provided some extra power, but not as quick as I thought.
And your surprise was that Leclerc scores points, which
in his mega quick Ferrari.
Well, it was mega quick into the barrier, but aside,
is that
in regards to the rest of the
quick?
weekend, in regards to the rest of the weekend, it really was not that mega quick.
Is that a quarter point for a mega quick Ferrari? Maybe, I don't know.
Sure, we'll allow it. All right, so I think big surprise is worth 3 points, isn't it? And you get 1 point per prediction. So Hamilton and Bottas, Ricardo. So that's 2 points. Yeah, ignore the race result. Oh, Tiger, where's yours?
My one's for Monza. I
Yeah.
swear, didn't I do them in the last podcast,
Oh,
or were
for
they
God's
Belgian ones?
sake, no, those are Belgium.
Oh, no, I didn't. We already agreed that I was getting 0 points because I didn't make the predictions.
Oh, yes, because Tiger was a moron and didn't do what I asked.
So we agreed that that's why I said I'm getting 0 points.
Oh,
We
yes,
agreed.
of course. Yeah,
We agreed that I was getting nothing because I didn't make my prediction.
All right, okay, so Tiger is a DNS for this particular round, so it's like a 2-horse race between me and Natty now, but I have scored
Hey, I can make a
2.5
comeback.
points, which takes me to 7. 4.5 plus 2.5. So that's
Ooh.
7. And then Natty, you have also scored 2 points. That takes you to 8. And Tiger, you have scored 0. Because
So where does that take me to?
that leaves you on 3, believe it or not.
Yes.
So
But
Natty
it's like
then,
Top Gear when they do their board after when they add up the points. You get
like
0.
9. Can we give him negative 9 points because he didn't even make any prediction?
Minus 1,000.
All right. So anyway, so in the predictions battle, Natty leads the way by 1 point from me, with a massive gap of 4 points back to Tiger, and with about 9 races left, Tiger might want to start making his predictions for the race weekends. Anyway, ran over.
I'm sorry, we didn't record the podcast. I just didn't make them.
All right, well, that's ran over and episode 13 of the podcast over. I think we're having Black Country Mush on for a driver interview for next week's episode. Everything is starting up again this week. F1, we have the Academy in about an hour and a half, so we need to hop on that. Then tomorrow, myself and Natty hopping in the commentary booth again for the Freshman League. On Wednesday, we have more action with the Premier Series, which Natty is in. And on Thursday, I will be racing in the Superleague Championship on F1. Friday, I believe, is the Classic League. So you have a lot of stuff this week. It's going to be a long podcast episode next week. And then on Saturday is a day off. And Sunday, we will
the Weekend League.
The Weekend League, which I think, Tiger, you're commentating by yourself at the moment.
I am on that. I'm on my own on that one.
He
yeah.
is on his loan. Since you would like to join Tiger as a commentator, message Gavra. But anyway, that's going to bring to an end episode 13 of the podcast. You've been joined by 2028 myself.
Me, Tiger Assassin.
And me, X90G.
And that's going to be all of us signing off. See you next week, guys.